Hey, James here from Raisely, and tune in as I chat with Marjon, a Senior Growth Specialist at Raisely, as we chat all things create, fundraise, and grow. It's a great interview as Marjon dives into how personal connection can meet impact in the digital world and platforms. It's a real goodie, so enjoy. Hey, Marjon, thank you so much for joining today. We are stoked to have you on for Chats with Raisely. And I know you, I work with you, I see a bunch of stuff on our Zoom chats. But for our audience who may not know you, could you give us just a quick introduction? Who are you, what's your name, what's your role, and maybe something you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, James, and thanks for having me. So my name is Marjon James, and I'm in the Raisely Growth team as an account executive. So what that means is I chat to organizations, usually in Australia and New Zealand, who are interested in using Raisely for the first time, and I get to know and understand what their goals are, and then we chat a little bit more about Raisely and meet to determine if it's the right fit. Right now, I'm working on a few different things, but something top of mind is that I was at the FIA conference last week in Sydney, and this week I have some follow-ups to do from that time in the conference. So some existing customers who either had some feedback or some requests, and I need to get support involved, or some potential customers who I want to follow up with and check in with.
Yeah, and we'll even just chatting earlier, that conference was terrific. And I was glad that you and Jamie sort of can head to that and get involved. Thanks for coming on for Chats with Raisely. At the core of it, Chats with Raisely is about sharing our collective knowledge so that we can better create, fundraise, and grow. And I always ask the people who are coming on sort of what do you want to look at? So tell us, what are we going to be looking at today?
Yeah, so I've been reflecting on last week and thinking about our discussion today. And I probably want to focus on fundraise today. And the reason for that was what really came across last week in all the conversations I had was about helping donors understand the impact that their donation is making. That if that's the number one thing that we can take away from every charity and the purpose of every type of online fundraising campaign, and even the ones that aren't online, is helping people understand why to donate and what their donation will do.
And at the core of it, like, explore that for us. What does that look like? Because I'm sure that's something that they're trying to think through in their context. How do you see that play out?
Yeah, definitely. So last week, Homemade Digital, one of our partners in Raisely, we put a campaign together for the conference specifically. And that was benefiting a charity, UNHCR, who was supporting Ukraine. So, for example, in that appeal that we put together, Homemade did a lot of that work. They utilized donation handles. So for a $50 donation, that would equate to a certain number of blankets to help people in need in Ukraine. And for $75, that would allow tarps to be provided so that temporary shelter could be provided for 6 families or something along those lines, just off the top of my head. So what that means is when a donor arrives to that fundraising appeal campaign, they can look at, they can consider their budget, and they can also look at how their donation can make a real tangible impact. Instead of assuming, okay, $50 could be good, $70 could be great, and $100 could be amazing, they can really drill down and understand that. And we're making it as easy as possible for donors to feel connected to the purpose of the campaign.
Yeah, so interesting that you explore there that the goal of it somewhat is they feel more connected to it. Can you give us a few examples of what it sort of can look like in different campaigns?
I think, there are a number of ways. One, like I said, donation handles. So someone can be informed about the impact before they make the donation. That works really well. We see that in a lot of fundraising campaigns. A second way could be in a follow-up. So maybe when a donation receipt is sent, that's when we can educate donors about the impact that they made with the respective donation amount that they provided. Yeah, I think that's a great way to do it as well. And if maybe the time of donation receipt could feel a little bit too soon, it could also be a recap at the end of a campaign. So, obviously that donation receipt can go out automatically right when a donation occurs. But let's just say a few weeks later, when that appeal campaign is over, an organization could do a write-up and provide their donors a summary of how the donations impacted those on the ground, wherever they might be supporting.
I love those audits. And I love and that's the funny thing. You almost need those suggestions of like, do it at the end of the campaign. Everyone's like, why haven't we been doing that? But I'm really curious, like, why do you think people feel the need to know the impact and not just be like, I'll just give them money?
Because ultimately, I think, and this came up a lot last week, what compels people in this industry and charities and nonprofits, and also what just drives human nature is connection, ultimately. I think that's something we all seek and desire and crave in our lives, not to mention everything that's transpired these last couple of years and all the distance that has had to occur in people's personal lives, in families, in friendships, and in relationships. I think that people are at a time where they're craving connection more than ever. Ironic to our world of technology and all the other things that are happening around us. So I think by providing people a really tangible understanding of what impact they can make with their donation, it just creates this level of connection and understanding in why that's even important that they gave in the first place.
I love it. And I think, again, that's something people could almost miss. It's not just about giving people something fun or tangible. It's literally giving them a connection to that. Because my assumption is a lot of like charities at times would try to take people to the field and see the programming so they can touch a bill, which can have at times negative impacts on field programming, because you almost want them to just be able to do their job without that distraction. What is it about the digital world that actually excites you about making this connection through this fundraising stuff?
Yeah, I think for charities and nonprofits, they have the opportunity to build this connection without needing to be on the ground with those donors. So I think, there are a lot of organizations still calling people and still sending mail, but the reality is that there's a lot of expensive costs that are associated with going door to door or standing in the middle of a CBD somewhere in Australia or sending out paper mail. Instead, we have this opportunity with technology to educate and connect with people without needing to spend quite as much money to do that. So I think when we think about, low budgets and a lot of different competing priorities, I think technology is giving a gift to charities and nonprofits to make and build that connection without needing to spend quite as much, so that really their budget, their dollars, their donations can go towards their mission.
What would you say to someone, because Marjon, I love that insight. That insight's brilliant. Because it really causes people to go, I've got to take this seriously. Like it's a great investment we can make. What would your words be to maybe like two of our audiences, kind of like to the charities who have a lot of internal resources to be able to spend time on this, but also to many of our customers who maybe their internal resourcing is a bit smaller? Like, how would you speak to both those audiences?
I think to the group that have a lot of internal resources, they have the opportunity to do a bit of testing and to learn a little bit from trial and error, because hopefully their resources and budget could allow. So maybe for one campaign, they might want to really drill down to those donation handles and test that out and see what level of success they have to get those higher donations. Maybe instead of going for the $50 mark, the ideal donation is $75. And using language and building connection and impact could be a great way to test that out. maybe because they have the resources, they can also test out that end of campaign summary that I mentioned, because that will take a little bit of analysis, let's say, to make that happen.
Yep.
I think for the charities that are less resourced and have less time, then they can hopefully rely upon our insights. They can rely upon other charities in the sector who have been really successful in building this connection with their donors. And they can hopefully take a little bit of information from these benchmarks and these recommendations, and they can implement just one strategy on each campaign. Instead of having too many goals, they can just harness that and focus on one.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things I love about Chats Raisely is people always give me ideas of new content we can be creating to sort of put out there. And I'm sitting back going, man, you can totally create like an end of campaign landing page that people can go to and see all the impact that they've driven, all in Raisely, which is just incredible. Yeah,
that would be awesome. Just like a page as well that's hidden until the right time, and then is linked to the overall campaign once that campaign has ended, as a redirect to that summary page.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to finish with a question. What do you think? How do you see this represented in Raisely? Like, we love Raisely. We love working with Raisely. And you brought up things as like that people are after connection, and that that's the investment you're going after. How do you reckon that's lived out in Raisely?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, a lot of the ideas I mentioned could be built in Raisely. So I think we're already setting up charities and nonprofits to be able to offer this to their community, to their donor base, to their supporter base. And I think, you just raised a really awesome idea as well. It's not something I've really seen too many campaigns do. I'm sure there's some out there, as we know, lots of people using Raisely creatively, but an end of campaign summary page would be awesome. That could just be a page in the Raisely page builder. There's obviously no additional cost or anything that applies for that. Only thing that it will require is the investment of someone's time at a charity or nonprofit to build that page. But maybe that's something, our team can look at and build out a bit of a framework and some recommendations with your overview and training as well. So I think that could be an awesome way to use Raisely for this particular idea. Maybe even having an additional email template that is focused on an end of campaign summary that organizations could use when they feel compelled to.
Yeah. Marjon, you are a delight to work with and to get knowledge and inspo from. Thanks so much for sharing that today. And I hope that our customers can sort of see the importance of that personalization that forms within that human connection around impact. I think that's huge. One of the things we love about working with Raisely is Raisely, I think, embodies much of this as well. We are after our customers making an impact before profit.
Definitely.
And so thanks for reminding us that that's at the core of what we want to be doing. You're an absolute joy. Tell me one thing that's coming up for you at the moment.
What's coming up for me? Lots of great chats coming up the next few weeks, demos that I'll be leading and connecting with. We're also working on, as you know, improving some of our internal approaches to showcasing Raisely as well. So I'm really excited about that. So anyone who might meet with me in the coming weeks, you might get to see new, fresh campaigns that we're working on in order to help you understand really what's possible with Raisely and how your fundraising goals can come to life.
Great. And if someone isn't on board with Raisely yet, wants to be on board, where can they go to find Marjon at the end of a phone call or Zoom chat to learn more about Raisely? How can they do that?
Yeah, well, my email would probably be a great place to start. It's just Marjon, Marjon @Raisely.com. And that would probably be the best place. Maybe you can link that in the YouTube comments as well. And we can also link one of our sales pages. So you can find a shortcut there to talk to a specialist, as it's called. And you can chat to me there as well.
Love it. I'll put that all in the description. Marjon, thank you so much for catching up today. You're a ledge, and all the best with this week and getting on board with the stuff from FIA. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thanks, James. See you, everyone.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did, and don't forget to check out resources in the description below. If you haven't liked, make sure you like. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to our channel and leave any comments or questions below. Until next time, enjoy creating in Raisely.